Hi, it's Maureen Muldoon, and we're on lesson 113 with A Course in Miracles. And I'm very grateful that we are practicing together. Thank you so much for sticking with these lessons and being on Course with Miracles. This is such a great way to awaken and to come back to the truth of your being and to free yourself from fears, from judgments, from limitations, so that we can be extensions of love. And that's really what we're designed for. So I hope that these lessons are helpful to you. If they are, think about giving it a like and maybe subscribing and sharing it with your friends. Any way we can help one another to get to the deep well of God's love is good. So, and I'm the most resistant person at the party. So, so thank you for not being as resistant as I am. Anyway, we are on lesson 113. And the lesson is, I am one self united with my Creator. That's a beautiful idea. We're in the review right now. It says, serenity and perfect peace are mine because I am one, because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God. So we're supposed to do that on the hour and then the next 96 on the half hour. But let's just rest for a second on this idea. I am one self united with my Creator. Serenity and peace are mine because I am one self, completely whole, at one with all creation and with God. So, what this lesson is nodding toward is the idea that we are very holy. And in fact, that's one of the lessons of A Course in Miracles. You are very holy. You are absolutely whole, perfect, and complete. And you might think, but Maureen, this happened to me, or that happened to me, or I did this, or I did that, and I'm not whole. I'm definitely missing a few cards in the deck. Believe me, I understand that. I understand feeling like there's something that's not enough, or there's something that we're missing, or I'm confused, or all of the other stories that the ego sings to us. Those are just songs of the ego. And if we listen to the ego that says we're imperfect or lacking in any way, we will. The ego songs do one thing: they lull us to sleep, and we don't want to be lulled to sleep by the songs of the ego. And that's why sometimes when we hear these new songs, sing a new song unto the Lord, when we hear these new songs, it can feel a little bit frightening. We can be in resistance to it. And we can begin to bring up all the ways that this does not calculate. Like, don't you know, I'm not whole. I have this, and this problem. And so, but the idea is that we're pouring in the constructive opposite, that we're bringing right-mindedness to the illusion. And so it is going to feel a little bit unusual. If it didn't feel unusual, if we were in complete acceptance of our holiness, we wouldn't have to practice, right? So we're practicing. And we're practicing accepting that God's love has completed us, that God has called us good and beautiful and holy, not just so that we can be like, I'm good and beautiful and holy, but so that we can show up in serenity and peace. And what comes from serenity and peace is purposefulness, so usefulness. So I'm here only to be truly helpful. As long as I'm feeling unworthy, I'm not going to be helpful. As long as I'm going through the Rolodex of all the ways that I'm out of sorts, I'm not going to be helpful. So let's lay all that to rest so that we can be helpful to the grand plan of God. And the grand plan of God is a good plan. So the next part of this review is a review of 96. Salvation comes from my one self. From my one self, whose knowledge still remains within my mind, I see God's perfect plan for my salvation perfectly fulfilled. So when we just talked about like God's perfect plan, we get to fulfill God's perfect plan. We get to be helpful to God's perfect plan. And my salvation comes from this one self that demonstrates this perfect plan. So you can't put the cart before the horse. Before you get God's perfect plan, you got to recognize that you're whole and holy and that you're capable of delivering God's plan. As long as you keep going to God and saying, God, I'm broken, I'm incomplete, I need this guy, I need these shoes, I need this car. God's like, will you just like pipe down? Like that has nothing to do with it. That's not my plan. Like it might or may not be included in my plan, but like that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is for you to be able to listen to my plan. There's no way you're going to be able to implement my plan if you don't settle down and listen to my plan. In every theology and philosophy, there is a common thread that says, be still and know God. It doesn't say know God, it says be still and know God. Do you know why? Because whoever wrote those words and put them together knew how much we didn't want to be still, how much we wanted to run the gamut and run our mind and run our mouths so that so we could like outshout God. So, they say in the Course, the ego speaks first and loudest. And that's you and me, my friend. We've been blah, blah, blahing at God. And God's like, quiet. I got to tell you something important. I know you think you're broken. I know you think you got problems. But if you come to me, I will give you all solutions. And I will also bless you with great purpose. And we might not hear that enough. So I wanted to tell you that today. I wanted to tell you that no matter how fearful you are, or how much you feel like you're inadequate, or how resistant you are towards walking towards your own happy holiness, that God waits patiently, and all of your resistance doesn't change God's mind. That God sees you as whole and beautiful and complete, and no matter what you did, or what you said, or what you saw, or who you've been with, it doesn't matter. God loves you. And no matter what you want, what you desire, and what your big dreams are, it doesn't matter. God loves you. And if we put first God's love, our wildest dreams will be fulfilled. They just won't look like the dreams that we had when we were immersed in ego. They'll look better. So that's my long and short. That's my mad ramble. I love you guys, and I thank you again for staying the course with me. And if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, go ahead and put them in the comments, and let's talk about it. If you ever want to have a conversation about A Course in Miracles, I do something called Miracles Live 365 where you can get on. We have the ability to service people. We have the ability to teach to people all over the world now. We have people on from Australia to all parts of America and Egypt, and so it's a really cool way to be able to study A Course in Miracles. This is a cool way to study A Course in Miracles. Any way you study A Course in Miracles is perfect, really. But I'm just grateful that we're studying, because I love this book, and I love the concepts, and I love the peace that I get from studying. Here's a picture of my dad. Oh my gosh. See my dad? And that's my youngest child, who at the time of this picture, her name was Rosemary, and he's transgender, so now his name is Ryan. And the thing about A Course in Miracles is I'm not a body, so it doesn't really matter what you say you are or you're not. Whatever brings you peace, my brother, whatever brings you peace, my sister, it doesn't matter. We can play any role that we want here, as long as we remember God loves us. And my dad was such a good dad. My dad loved me so much. He was my dad and mom, because my mom passed away when I was younger. My mom was my mom for the first 13 years of my life, but my dad really filled a big role in my heart. I don't know why I'm telling you that. Anyway, if your dad's still around, give him a hug. And if you're a dad, give yourself a hug. Adios. Namaste.